Holy F. Now it's really over. Why? Because Jerome Powell is laughing. Look what happened to stocks. The bears are stuck, they are trapped, and they're probably crying. Why? Because Jerome Powell said, I'm not going to be neutral, I'm going to be dovish. That's what it really comes down to. We got a dovish surprise. We talked about that earlier in the week. So, ha, 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 right? The Bears are not having such a great day today, but that's okay. Why? Because Cool Man's back. And who's Cool Man? He says, F your puts. Your puts, they're fired. There's a lot of news for us to go through, but at a very high level, here is what I want to watch. Xiaomi beat Apple. Now it's taking on Tesla. Uh-oh. China is coming for the smartphone giant and also the EV maker. But there's maybe going to be a counter move. U.S. allies don't want to kiss the ring. U.S. allies in Asia grapple with a once unthinkable option to what? Be more independent. This is going to be very important because there is a meeting happening between South Korea and Trump, and that's going to be happening on Monday. When is that? That's in a day or two. And this is really curious because Texas Instruments is launching a new fab, and they use pause here if you want to. They have certain technologies which are not quite as advanced as Samsung or TSMC, but the fact there is a meeting happening on Monday with Samsung there, and look at these companies here, right? Ford, Nvidia. Oh, that's right. Nvidia's earnings are this week. That's right. So we'll come back to this in a moment. We'll also talk about the US officially taking a 10% stake into Intel. This one's pretty notable because here he's talking about how we're going to make America great again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I'll walk you through exactly what I'm doing in my personal account and also my 401k account. No need to worry. I will take you through all of that. Let's jump straight in. All right. So, joke's over in roughly 2 minutes. Now, let me show you the goods because that's what really matters here. Where should I start? Let's go here to. Let's go here to my notes actually. So let me just jump over here briefly. So let's go to the S&P 500 notes here. So as a quick reminder, we're going to be closing out weekly and monthly candles on Friday. Pause if you need to. Right now, we're what? Fully bully boomtown. The bulls are in control. We're still due for a radar, which means that SH and PSQ are still telling us to manage risk, which means, again, just be cautious. Doesn't mean to sell everything. As of right now, we're looking for the one-day chart to flip back to being fully bullish. So above 610, which is what we remain. That's what this pink line is right here, 613, 610. We are in fully bully boomtown, which means buy all dips, right? Guacamole, pico de gallo, salsa, whatever it is. We're cautiously bullish on the one day. If you read the note here, what it tells us is that by closing at or near the high of the day, it implies a higher high. Does it hold? Because if so, we go back to being 4 out of 4 on the 1 day, the 1 week, the 1 month, the 1 quarter, and the annual. The reason why this is so bullish is for one simple reason. If we look here to that simple note, which says by closing at or near the high of a candle, oops, let me jump back to here. Sorry, here we go. By closing at or near the high of the candle, right? High of the candle, which means basically the high, which we are at right here. We're near the high of the candle. If we zoom out to the monthly, yeah, we're at the high of the candle. So what's going to happen? Probably mega big up more, which means what? More bear fuel, more bear pain. Some people think there's going to be a dip into October. I'm not so convinced. I think Trump might have actually done it. All right, let's push forward here. Back to the note. Sorry about that. This one here. So weekly, monthly, quarterly, all bullish. What broadening out looks like to me is that RSP and DIA are actually pushing to new all-time highs first. And the Russell was up 4% on Friday. Oh my goodness. Did you see the move on the Russell? On the one-day chart here, it was up by what? 3.92%. Wowzers, right? Golden cross, which means momentum is really good. And we're up by 4% to a pretty high area, right? The price is not seen going back to 2014. If we looked at DIA and RSP, new all-time highs, check. Mega big up crew is intact. RSP over here, new all-time highs after butting up against it a few times. So got a little bit of a cup, got our handle, and now we're higher. If we were to backtest the all-time high, again, a weekly higher low, probably going to want to buy that. So grab your chips. All right, jumping back to here. Here are the key dates for this week. It's pretty simple. We've got Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday. On Monday, there's that big summit. I'm going to talk about that in a moment now. On Wednesday, we have NVIDIA earnings, which is why I was trying to tease out what's happening with Intel, because I think there's a story here, right? They paid nothing for the stupid shares, but we're going to make America great again with it. There we go. It is a great honor to report the United States now owns and is the biggest shareholder of Intel. It's 9.9%. So the reason why this is curious is because these other companies also received CHIP Act money, notably. All these companies are right here. So is he going to try to convert those as well? Or was it only Intel that got cucked? I'm not sure. Pause if you need to. Right now, there is geopolitical tension with this country. There's tariffs outside of the USA. But their revenue was made about 60% outside of the US. This is where TI was looking to expand. You can see where their assembly or test sites are. The US is feeling a little bit left out. And right now, Texas Instruments controls 75% of the US share of capital spend. There you go. Moving forward to Intel, we talked about that. So again, Nvidia's earnings on Wednesday do really matter. We are expecting a beat here. So let me pull that up for you. What I find really curious is that on the last earnings report, what did we hear? We heard about them taking a charge against China sales. So now it would be a surprise if we were to hear that the sales are going back online, at least from an earnings report perspective. So similar to Jerome Powell, maybe the company's going to what? Go mega big up more. This is not my favorite chip company, but we need the leader to lead. Again, it's not that it's not my favorite company. It's that in absolute returns, let's look at one little company here. Why? Well, it went up a lot. Right. If we look here too, like what it's been doing on the monthly and weekly. Sorry, let me just zoom out here. This is Wolfspeed. So a company I'm going to talk about shortly here, but it's up like 700%. It didn't hold all of it, but from its relative low, still up by roughly 240. I like NVIDIA. I want it to lead. If it leads, the followers will follow. So its earnings on Wednesday are really important. Trump is heavily invested in the success of this company. I think they're going to do well. So that's what's really important to me. Caution on that one there. That's why there's the caution. All right, I'm going to ask you for a huge favor. If you could please consider smashing the thumbs up or subscribing to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. As we look forward to the rest of the week, we got GDP, core PCE, and the weekly and monthly candle closes. What's really important is that I think we're going to get momentum continuation into Monday. So that note that I just showed you earlier, again, it's only two pictures. It should be really simple. The dots are mostly green by closing at or near the high of the day, high of the week, high of the month, high of the quarter, high of the year. What's likely going to happen? We're probably going to go higher. The question is, does it hold? So by the end of the week, we would have a weekly failed breakout. That would be the important part. Note here as well that last week it said weekly higher lows are sufficient, and we didn't have a weekly higher low and turn into a bullish engulfing candle. So that negates the lower low, very simply put. All right, and then rounding the week out, this is where I'm unsure about what's going to happen for that PCE number into Friday. If I was trying to look at look for a bullish tilt or a bearish tilt or a reason why we could sell off, it's because going into Friday, if PCE remains elevated, that could potentially give us the expectation and not cut. But Jerome Powell did say he was basically cutting in September, so it could be a hawkish cut. And that would be evident on the tape on Friday. Again, going into that weekly and monthly candle close, that could provide some potential for us to reverse some of the moves we've made recently. Otherwise, here's the key areas: 645, 640, 637, and 633, roughly 12 points lower, and then roughly 10 points higher. So there you go. We go up a little bit, we're going to get a new all-time high and a weekly higher high. Pretty simple. Talked about NVIDIA's earnings. Let's pop back here to just the rest of the story. And then if you watch until the end, again, I'll show you exactly what I'm doing in both of my accounts. But if you want to see exactly what I'm doing right now, here you go. Here's my exact holdings. Perfect. And then here's my exact holdings too. If that's all you want, here you go. Here's exactly what I own. I'm 50% cash. You should care because of this number right here. I'm up by 16.5% so far this year. Yes, it's a small account. Yes, I'm growing it. And yes, I'm trouncing the market. Market's up by roughly 10, 11%. I'm up by 18 realized in this one here, roughly 0.4 unrealized. So again, if you watch until the end, I will give you an update on these. And you might be surprised, but I'm actually 92.7% cash right now. And I have those returns. So I will explain all of that in detail if you can just watch all the way until the end. All right, here we go. So I talked about Xiaomi, and Xiaomi, whoa, that's a pretty big company there. So what's happening here? Oh, there's a handshake. There's a Japanese a sign. Trump's tariffs and unpredictability have rattled the region's most dependable partnerships, forcing Japan and others to debate a more independent future. And this is really, really important because remember, Japan already flew to the US. I believe South Korea has already been there too. But Xiaomi is not a South Korean or a Japanese company. What are they? They're Chinese. Oh, so they're taking over phones and cars and EVs. Potentially, yes. So what's important here is that on the 23rd and 24th, there was a meeting between the Japanese and South Korean leaders before he headed for a summit with the U.S. on the 25th. All right, so the South Korean leader is going to be he's going to be in the news on Monday, really big. Why? He's looking for a couple of really big headlines. He wants to discuss U.S. North Korea. Whoa, that's a doozy. He also wants to talk about a lot of things. Like what? Let's go through those. As U.S. relations. Oh, we're recording again. Oh, yeah, we are. Okay, sorry. Just trying to catch my breath there. I was a conference for a second. The reason why this is important is because, as we noted, the Japanese and South Koreans just met, but earlier this week, the Africans and the Japanese met. Why does this matter? Well, they want closer ties. As U.S. relations sour, they now made a really big investment. These are potentially the things we're going to hear about on Monday as well. Pay attention to them. Defense costs, modernizing the alliance. Again, deterrence, that's the key country right there. North Korea, shipbuilding, nuclear fuel, corporate investments. Notably, South Korea said the leaders will discuss cooperation in sectors such as chips, batteries, and shipbuilding. Whoa. Yes, those are pretty big deals. And it's being covered like everywhere. So if you haven't really heard about it yet, this 150 billion is in addition to the 350 billion they've already committed. And most of the leaders are coming. The 150 billion is on top of and separate from the 350 they've already agreed to. Okay. And remember, Trump already talked about Hyundai. He's talked about other companies. So who's coming? Leaders from South Korea include Samsung, Hyundai, Nissan, SK. Who's SK? Oh, you're going to find out. Keep watching. Let's go through here. Ah, here we go. Ford. Who's Ford? Oh, the big, beautiful American company. Ford and SK. Okay, SK On. We just saw that, right? Okay, Ford and SK On are seeking buyers for excess batteries. Oh, they got extra batteries. This new joint venture probably seems important in Kentucky. It does. So a Korean company moves into the battery belt. Who? SK On. Who is SK On? Well, they're a South Korean company doing a joint venture with Ford where today they have 30 million cars they can put onto the road. They want to have 100 million. That's a tripling. Prediction by 2026. They're all over big, beautiful America with 20 states in operations. Wow. Look at this one here. Their flagship two states are going to be Kentucky and Tennessee, which is where they've invested $11.4 billion for batteries and future electric vehicles. South Korean company with a big, beautiful Ford company selling $30,000 vehicles, which have not revealed yet. That's right. Pause if you need to. They've made investments almost everywhere. Look at those Ford investments. Ford F-150, $2.6 billion. Here they talk about Plug Power. Again, we've talked about Plug on this channel. Full disclosure, it's a company I own. So if you go through my portfolio, you will see that one there. There is a conflict. If we go through here as well, we can see that in Georgia, they've made other investments for semiconductors. Semiconductors. Trump's talked about that a lot lately, hasn't he? Yes, he has. We're also going to go through and talk about, again, medicines, right? So he's talked about that as well. And manufacturing silicon carbide wafers over where? In Michigan. Okay. We like silicon carbide on this channel. Why? Well, silicon's good. Silicon carbide is better. We can look here to other investments they've made. So again, American companies. This is TerraPower, backed by Bill Gates, another American company in Washington. So this is where Trump is likely going to want to take a victory lap to say that, look, I got South Korea to come invest in America, and they're doing all these great things, right? F cells. So this is a F cell battery, right? Fuel cell battery company. Also looking here, they've invested in Fulcrum, right? $20 million for landfill waste. Apple begins discussions with Samsung on supplying glass substrates for semiconductors. Samsung is going to be part of the companies coming, by the way. Samsung is a Japanese company. Samsung happens to help Apple. Apple happens to be launching a silicon supply chain end-to-end in America and for magnets and other rare earths. And every iPhone and Apple Watch sold globally is going to have American-made Corning glass in Kentucky. I hope you're connecting some dots here because this is starting to get very, very curious. So when we look here, Apple announces $2.5 billion partnership, but that $2.5 billion is like not a lot compared to $600 billion. Why? That's what Timmy said they got to invest here, right, Timmy? Yes, that's right, Tim Cook. Moving forward, what is needed to actually build these servers? Because I think we're going to be talking about these soon. So this is from the U.S. Geological Survey. I believe that's what that is, USGS. So what are the key ingredients? It's everything. Pause if you need to. Ag is silver. We got arsenic. We got gallium. We got silver, gold, copper, tin, titanium, palladium, platinum. We got rare earth for magnets. We got aluminum, copper. Wait, isn't these all the things Trump is talking about? Silicon, yeah, tantalum. Okay, this is like a big coincidence. And the Biden and Harris money, well, it's drying up. So they've made some jobs. But another reason why South Korea is really important is because Trump is going to want to spin this into his own. And South Korea is hosting APEC in 2025, which is when? October 31st. That's like pretty soon here. In 2024, it was Peru. And Peru, that was a pretty big deal. Why? Because there's a mega port there in Chansey. And now I think it's going to be South Korea's turn. They're going to be exporting something. Here we go. This is from the U.S. Geology Survey as well. It talks about quartz or ground high purity quartz or HPQ, which is what you use to make silicon, which is what Apple talked about, which is what they're going to need for the batteries. So this stuff is really, really important. SK and Siltron, which is Ford. Well, SK just had a big loan with the Department of Energy. For what? In October of 2024. Again, you can go to the government website if you want. It's energy.gov/LPO/SK-Siltron. We can go right here and see it for ourselves. They give us all the key stats. Facility will expand manufacturing of high-quality silicon carbide wafers for electric vehicles, power, electronics. If you don't know what this stuff is, I think, if not on Monday, there's going to be a huge announcement for it. So SiC, which is made from the SK Siltron, the company we just looked at from South Korea, right? That's SK. And then Ford. You might recognize the company name Ford. Yes, look at the date, though. This was before Trump came into office. So I think that's where he's going to want to try to spin it, just like the Apple investment that they committed under Biden, but then presto magic, now it's Trump's. All right, August 23rd, look at this update here, because silicon carbide and solar energy. Wait, what's this? What's that little wafer right there? Oh, a silicon carbide wafer produced by XFab. Isn't that what we just looked at when we looked at the Texas Instrument? Correct. And that's the first time there's been a walkthrough for it. That was by CNBC. XFab, August 23rd. Yes, they were part of the CHIPS Act too. The countries and companies behind these things get increasingly curious the deeper and deeper you look. But remember, to wrap this around, a very simple story. On Monday, I already told you in the first 2 minutes what was going to happen. Trump is going to be meeting with the South Korean leader. The context of that meeting is likely going to be very important. Reminder, right? These guys just met. The other reason why it matters is because of Japan. Again, I told you at the outset that they're rethinking their geopolitical alliances over there. So if now we look at this headline here, going back to 2023, Wolfspeed signs $2 billion supply deal with Japan-based chip maker. By the way, Wolf is a company I showed you earlier, right? Complete garbage until it's not. Then it went up a couple 100% in what? Like literally a week. What happened here in early June or late June? Were they talking about silicon carbide? Was there a deal with Japan made? Oh, there was. Under a 10-year supply agreement. So hold on. That'd be 2023 plus 10. I think that's 2033 if my math is right. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so 2033. That's like a lot more years from now. Okay, a lot more years from now, Trump is president. So in a lot more years from now, Trump's going to want some silicon carbide. With who? With some countries he can say that he got them to bend the knee. Japan's going to do whatever I say they do with the $500 billion. I say this, they do this. I say that, they do that. Well, this Wolfspeed company seems a little bit important. And recently here from the CEO, Robert Furley, on July 7th, he tells us that over 30 years, he sees a lot of really great things here. There's 5 reasons I think silicon carbide is unstoppable. It has the efficiency of power to power an electrified world. It has thermal connectivity and AI computing demands. AI, hold on, Stargate, solar power, silicon carbide. That's right. Again, if I'm making some jokes here and things don't make sense, drop a comment. I've been going over this theme for a very long time. It's getting increasingly easier to tell it because it's just getting much more into the mainstream. Here's why it matters. Silicon carbide supply manufacturing in America. I showed you XFab earlier. Wolf is an American company, but they're working with the Japanese. The Japanese are working with the South Koreans. The South Koreans work with Apple. The South Koreans supply a lot of things, but the Japanese as well. You look at companies like, let's actually take a quick second here. Just to see who some of the biggest companies are in these countries, because this is who's coming. Again, I read you the outset. They talked about Samsung. Okay, Samsung. Oh, LG. Oh, you probably recognize LG. You probably do. Samsung Biologics, Hyundai. They're going to be coming. You recognize them. They got Kia. I don't think they're coming. Okay, well, these companies here you probably recognize. So electronics, Samsung, Kia, Hyundai, cars, and devices. Okay, so Xiaomi is probably pretty threatening to them too. Probably is. Wait, Japanese large companies, Toyota, yes, and there's Lexus too. That's Texas Toyota Lexus. So both of those brands. Um, Nippon, right? Nippon Steel. Wait, they got a golden chair. Mitsubishi, Sony, MUFG, Hitachi, SoftBank. Oh, SoftBank. That's Masatoshi. Isn't he the guy that said he wanted to invest? Oh, that's right. He's putting money into Intel. SoftBank putting money into Intel. Okay. Nintendo. What else have they got? Panasonic, right? That's batteries for Tesla, Toyota. They got all this stuff here. Mizuho, right? That's the one that what's his name? Warren Buffett likes. So they make like a lot of electronics over in Asia. Yes, they do. And silicon carbide seems to be a focus lately. So if we finish off the story now, the U.S. Department of Energy designated silicon carbide as a critical material with high risk to supply disruption through 2035. If only there was a 10-year supply agreement that could actually work for that. Yes. And here's what the Department of Energy tells us could actually get improved: modernizing the grid, get people off the fence, remove contradictions, and from better partnerships. Sorry, that's Wolf Speed. Then if we go here to the Energy Department, well, they tell us silicon carbide packaging prize phase 1 winners. Oh, isn't these like a lot of the same places where we just saw they had production and Trump is likely going to tour? Yes. And we also know what are critical minerals because the government told us. This is from the Department of Energy as well. So pause if you need to. If it's red, it's really bad for this period here, 2020 to 25. If we look forward to 2035, which is what, again, a 10-year supply agreement from today would roughly get you to, well, it's everything in red. So as we get more and more elements like lithium, again, we just heard about lithium getting shut down. We heard about rare earths, that's neodymium, whatever. Well, silicon carbide, red too. Manganese, platinum, gallium, graphite, cobalt, all of these. I'm not going to walk you through every little intricate detail. You can pause if you want to. I've done the research, so you don't have to. I've highlighted some stuff here as well because I am learning even more. Sand containing more than 95%. If it is ground HPQ, that's the most important part. Again, quartz. I'm not a silicon expert, believe it or not. I'm not even a silica expert. All I know is that I'm learning more and more as I go through this journey. So ground silicon carbide is different than silicon, it looks like. Synthesized silicon, which is what I think that the Japanese and South Koreans make. So here, this is what's really important. Normal trade relations as of end of next year. No tariff. It says right there, tariff. This is a tariff duty. This is from the trade representative. Okay, world resources. Well, it tells you who has the stuff, who's got the good SHT. Well, it's not America. And the substitutes, there's no substitutes. So they can synthesize it, but ground quartz is different than synthesized quartz. That's correct. Then I went and asked ChatGPT. I said, hey, ChatGPT, where does South Korea and Japan source their quartz to make silicon? And they gave me all these answers here, but it gave me the summary table here, right? They import it, they synthesize it. So there's synthetic graphite and there's natural graphite. So that's what I think is happening. They provided a table. Ironically, South Korea actually gets a lot of it from India. I'm guessing that's the ground sand, again, above 95%. Different applications require different purities, but India, China, Turkey, Belgium, they better get a new supply deal because Japan looks like it's a winner. They get it from the U.S. Number 2 is not so bad because U.S. is 62% for Japan. Summarize it here as follows if you want to pause. Then I asked it, can you please include natural sand, or again, that or HPQ, which is that ground quartz. So now they tell us right here, right? Natural high purity quartz and quartz sand, blah, blah, blah. This is where it's sourced from now. India, China, blah, blah, blah. As we go through, this is what I think might potentially change. We just go through these questions here. Again, quartz versus HPQ. It's hard to tell the difference. They can't tell us because there's natural, industrial, HPQ, right? There's synthetic, there's natural, blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm not an expert at all this stuff, so I'm trying to figure it out too. So then I asked it, all right, ChatGPT, this big, beautiful America wants to make big, beautiful batteries and big, beautiful EVs with their South Korean, Japanese partners. Can the current domestic supply chain hold on? No. Spruce pines cannot meet the current projection U.S. demand, and its own U.S. lacks sufficient graphite manning and processing capacity. So it went on a bit of a tangent about graphite when I asked it about silicon. And it's like, oh, here's a company, Graphite One, Novonix, Westwater Resources, and Sky Nano. But as of right now, the U.S. needs way more than what they have. So it's impossible for Trump to announce what he wants without graphite. Synthetic, natural, doesn't seem to matter right now. Spruce pines cannot fulfill U.S. graphite demand now or for the foreseeable future. Future demand is likely going to outpace domestic scaling without imports. Imports? Huh? Resource potential may cover midterm demand if developed efficiently. Let's go back up to here. I showed it to you, but you might have missed it, so I'll remind you. Graphite, red, is what? Critical. So wait, if Apple or Ford or any company in America wants to produce, even NVIDIA, AMD, Texas Instruments, any one of those companies wants to produce anything, well, it can't just come from spruce pines, at least for that material. So as we go through and tell the story more, we're going to find out even more about this. How much does U.S. have in terms of tonnage or inferred quartz, measured or inferred? They don't really tell us, but out of spruce pines, they extracted roughly 200,000 tons in 2023. That is output. It is not a resource, which means we don't know how much they could actually produce for. Is it for 10 years, 20 years, 100 years? We don't know. How much does the U.S. have in terms of tonnage for measured or inferred silicon resources? It tells us we don't really know. But 70, 90% of the quartz, again, the HBQ, is coming from spruce pines. If we look at the graphite specifically, I think that what Columbia said, it might be true. Right? They said that the U.S. could actually help diversify their supply chain by looking into Brazil. And specifically for graphite. Why graphite? Well, because in production they have 4%, but for the reserves, it's 26%. So when the first thing to make anything silicon related is graphite, maybe, just maybe, there's another company or another country that could do it. Again, this is from Columbia, an American university. If we look here, here's the table which shows the Brazilian critical mineral mining projects, all of them, right? They got MG, I believe that's Minas Gerais, and they got BA, that's Bahia. I know that place like the back of my hand. I'm getting, not the back of my hand, I've never been there, so let me reel that back a bit, but oh my goodness, what is this? Bahia Export 2025, updated as of 1 day ago, meaning they just wrapped up the event. Whatever they're doing here probably seems pretty important because it's the second annual one. It's the second one ever. Where's the important people? There's some important people here. I'm looking for a couple of people specifically, though. He's important. Yeah. This guy right here, probably increasingly more important. Oh, yeah, this guy. You're going to probably see him in the news shortly. He's going to be talking about a big old bridge with CCCC. That's what I think. And as we go forward here, this guy as well. This guy seems really important. Might want to look into him. And then finally, there's other people from CBPM and others, but I don't think I'm going to catch them right now. Just trying to be mindful of time. And then if we go to the end, there's this nice little slide here. What do they show us? Actually, let me finish off these here. Japan to propose African-India logistics network for free trade. So the reason why I find this curious is because they're already doing this from Africa, and Trump seems to be okay with it because Tokyo is planning to step up where the U.S. is pulling back. But now Tokyo and South Korea are getting friendly with the U.S., but they're still thinking about their independence. So think about this. Apple sues China's Oppo ex-engineer over alleged theft of watch trade secrets. Is that why Apple's making everything in America now for the glass? Is that where the tech is? Is it in the glass? Because if it's in the glass, it's going to be Samsung. As a summary, because my tinfoil hat is starting to come off, here's what I expect. I expect a victory lap on Monday from Trump. For why? Apple Silicon only or silicon carbide phones. I think that's going to be the iPhone Air. Why? Well, I just happen to think that's what it's going to be. Samsung is South Korean, and the materials might be from Japan. Apple's event is mid-September. If Apple wants to have a win for America or US made, Trump's going to want the win first. So for us to work back, it's almost September. We got to launch it like now. What do they talk about? $600 billion silicon supply chain. Apple and Samsung, Apple and Japan, Ford and SK On, that's South Korea, Japan and Intel, right? That's Masatoshi, Japan and Wolf, that's what that's supposed to say. That supply deal. Wolf and Intel, US government and Intel. Oh, this is getting curious. Yeah, this is getting really curious. And I have way more notes I could even walk you through, but honestly, I don't have more time. So let's get to my portfolio really quickly, and then we're going to sign off here. And full disclosure, this might be the last longer video for a bit, just because I am currently moving and I just don't have as much time to predict every video I can produce. I'll do my best, but here's the update. As of right now, I hit a new all-time high in my account this year, 16.5% year to date. With half of my account in cash, again, I got bill 50%. I'm gushing cash right now. I got some ideas, but I'm not really overly excited to buy. And I'll show you exactly those reasons now, because you watched all the way until the end. I have a busy week ahead, so I'm unlikely to do much. But right now, a lot of my stocks are actually skewing to a negative below 1 risk reward, which means I have less than $1 in reward for every $1 of risk. Like DDD, it's 20 cents. I can make 20 more cents, or I can lose 80 cents. But the trade is completely free. It's fully funded. That's why it says 100%. So the stock works for free. I'm just going to assess it. The note right here tells you exactly what I am doing. I already raised half of my account in cash. There's no need to trim further. But if you haven't done what I've done, this might be a great place to trim. I'm not telling you exit. Look, I trimmed and I'm at an all-time high, 16.5%. When the SPY stock is only up, let's be honest, 10.5%, still a crush. But full disclosure, the US is actually underperforming the rest of the world. Let's look at FXI. I call this the double-digit bandidos. 31% year to date. OMG. Let's look at Mexico. 31. Whoa. US, why you suck, buddy? You got to go up more. Year to date, even Brazil's up 26%. So like the US has some catch up to do here. We talked about that. All right, so those are some ideas that I like. We'll talk about the Chinese EVs getting delivered to Europe, I think, early this week. Otherwise, I'm letting my money work for me. That's what my money's supposed to do. It's supposed to work for me. In my Algo account, here's the ideas. Wolf is due for an alert. So I talked about Wolf a lot. Well, our system, the elgo.com, is telling us that technically speaking, we're due for an alert. I provided you some fundamental research on the reason why it could go higher. And honestly, if Jerome Powell's right and the market's now trapped and we're going to get cuts, this is a company that could do well. Again, full disclosure, I do own it. So I'm completely biased because I make money if it goes up. And right now, its risk reward is 7.62. So watch for that one this week. Otherwise, the inverse theme, or PSQ, RWM, SH, SOXX, UVXY, continue to give us a strong theme with good risk reward. We already own SOXX. That is our insurance. So our insurance is already in the account. And that's the active holdings right here. SOXX, Wolf, we talked about SolarEdge. BW we'll leave for another day. And then Donut is the one we'll talk about right now, because we're back to being break even, but we got to trim at 4.44. So what this basically tells us now is that if we're due for a higher time frame alert on Donut, it's due for a monthly one. If at the end of the month or on Friday, it maintains 3.63, the alert's going to be valid. And it's going to be good for a whole year with a risk reward of 4.22. The levels will be visible when the trade qualifies on Friday. So there you go. Pause if you need to, right? Reminder, pass or fail is on Friday for the monthly candle as well. Showed you at the very beginning. We already own Donut. That's excellent. I may just decide to upgrade the time frame. Why? We want to let our winners run. We already can't lose on it, so let him go. Already wants to run, let him go. And then otherwise, we're 93% cash with 19% unrealized and realized so far this year. Thank you very much for watching all the way until the end. If you want to subscribe to the channel, come hang out, because I will give an update as soon as possible. Might even be on Monday if I get settled. Otherwise, if you want to come trade with me, you can go to either theelgo.com, or you can go to the fourth link in the description to join my waitlist. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you on the next video.